everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alchemist. This is the Spirit of Freedom Ministry, and here today I will be talking or teaching about one of the skills that we need to proceed on our walk to freedom. The goal is freedom. Freedom in every area of our life. Galatians 5:1 said, Jesus has set us free. Make sure you stay free and not get tied up in slavery to the law. Jesus has set us free, but there's a responsibility. Make sure you stay free. Make sure you stay free. So the goal is freedom. And on this path to freedom, there are things that are always available to trip us so that we don't get there, so that we don't achieve the freedom. The goal of God is to give us freedom, but the opposite of God, which is the devil, is so that you do stay in slavery. To stay in slavery. So there are things that God will do so that you can achieve your freedom. There are things that are there to trip you on your path to freedom, and there are things that you too have to do. So it is you, God, working together to fulfill this freedom. So I've been teaching recently on what you have to do. These are the skills you need to develop on your walk to freedom. Freedom is a journey. You don't just happen. It happens with joy, like a journey, step by step, especially with the realization of the truth. And the truth is God's perspective of the situation. So when the light bulb shines, then you realize, wow, so I have been blind before, but now I can see. I have been deaf before, but now I can hear. Yeah. So today we shall be teaching about one of the skills that is required on this path to freedom. I call it the skill of alchemy. Alchemy, or some might call it alchemy, but I think it should be alchemy. Alchemy, or another word for it is, another word I can use instead of that is the skill of transforming. The skill of transforming. Transformation means something that changes from one state to another. For science students, you know what that is. Liquid can change to solid, like water, frozen water, turning to ice. So the skill of alchemy or transformation. If you look at the book of Romans 12:1, it says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. That is the NLT translation. The goal, what God intends to do, is to change the way you think, and that way you will be transformed. I am an agent of God. I am a servant of God, sent to influence the way you think so that you can think and see as God sees. That is my job. I am a servant of the Most High. So, alchemy, according to the AI overview, it says, is a philosophical and proto-scientific tradition that has roots in many cultures, including China, India, the Muslim world, and Europe. It combines elements of chemistry, physics, medicine, spirituality, and metaphysics, with the ultimate goal of transforming base substances into more valuable ones. Base substances, things that are just normal, ordinary things, into more valuable ones, like turning lead into gold. Alchemy also sought to discover a universal solvent and elixir of life and spiritual enlightenment. So this is just a metaphor. Using this word to compare the transformation process of Christians. Turning base things like you, the foolish things of this world, to bring about something valuable, to display his manifold wisdom through you that you think that you're a base thing. A fool like me, an ordinary person like me from Africa, But God decided to transform our lives to make us what? Something special and valuable that we can influence the world. So that is what alchemy means. He was a scientist, but his own interest is to find base things to transform them into something valuable. So alchemy can be compared to the word transformation. If you're alchemizing, that means you are transforming. If you're an alchemist, that means you love to transform. Can you see that? So I can compare alchemy to an animal, a bird which I love so much, an eagle. I hope you can see here, this animal has some characteristics or traits that an alchemist should have, or an alchemist has. A transformer, a change agent, or someone that wants to undergo change is supposed to have some of the traits that this animal has. Are you here? All right, so let's compare alchemy to an eagle. I am still a Christian. We are still talking about Christ here, right? But these are these are principles that applies to every human being. God is an alchemist. We shall see that. So, an eagle uses windstorm to soar higher. Among the traits of an eagle, one of them is that whenever there's a windstorm, the eagle dives into it, using the windstorm to carry itself to a higher altitude, to a higher what? Height. Instead of it flapping and using her strength to soar, she just spreads her wings and the wind carries her to a higher altitude. So instead of running away from the storm, an eagle runs into the storm, using the storm as a tool to reach higher height. An eagle prunes its old feathers, or plumage, for newer and stronger ones to develop. An eagle will prune old feathers at probably once in a year, lifetime or something. I will make more research on that. But an eagle prunes the old feathers, and then it grows new one, and then he or she is renewed. Like a youth. The youth of an eagle is renewed. That is by pruning the old feathers and growing new ones, and then they can soar better. So the old ones are pruned for the new ones to grow. An eagle has great vision, which we know, the ability to see its prey at a long distance and target it, focus and target it. Eagles has great vision. It can see something years ahead, far ahead. Not eagle, but someone compared to an eagle has great vision. It can see what others are not seeing in a situation. So an alchemist needs to have that ability. And the last one I will use out of many attributes of an eagle, the fourth one is great strength. The eagle has great strength to carry every prey. Great strength to carry every prey. An example of an alchemist in the Bible. God himself is an alchemist. If you look at the book of Isaiah 48:10, he says, I have refined you, but not as silver is refined. Rather, I have refined you in the furnace of suffering. God refines, but he refines in the storm. He changes. Refining means to transform. So God transforms not just in anything, but with the fire of suffering, with this furnace of suffering. Just as fire turns gold, raw gold into beauty and clean gold, so also God uses the furnace of suffering to what? To transform. Jesus also is an alchemist, I would say. If you look at the book of 1 Corinthians, let's go to John 13:27. Jesus said, when Judas had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. Then Jesus told him, hurry and do what you are going to do. Jesus was saying, hurry and do your betrayal. Perform your betrayal. Wow, this betrayal would actually cause him pain, but through the furnace of suffering, he was ready to go into it to reach the glory that was set before him. He was telling Judah here, do what you are supposed to do quickly. All the other disciples did not understand. as soon as Satan came into him, he said, do what you are supposed to do quickly. So he knew what was going to happen in the fire, and he surrendered and went through it just for the glory that is set before him. So you might be going through some challenges now, but don't worry. God has a purpose in that fire. He is planning to refine you through the furnace of suffering. I am sorry. The heart of the Father is still love, is tough love. But when the glory comes, people will ask you, would you like to go through that again? If you compare the glory to the pain, you will say, I don't mind, because the glory will be greater than the pain. Sure, I believe that. Joseph was also an alchemist. Genesis 50:20. Genesis 50:20. He says, you intend to harm me, but God intended it all for good. He brought me to this position so I could save the lives of many people. It was the pain was intended to destroy Joseph. But yet with God with him, he went through all that his glory and the purpose of God may come to pass. So transformation is required to achieve the glory and purpose God has for you. But what does God use to start this transformation? It is the furnace of suffering. I wish I could tell you or sweet-tongue it in a better way. I wish I could make it simpler, but I'm sorry to disappoint that the most efficient way, the most way God uses to refine his chosen one and his children to bring the glory that is inside them, to bring it out for the whole world to see, it is true pressing, it is true pressure, it is true suffering, furnace of suffering. What is the process of alchemy? Alchemy has a process. So when this suffering comes, the first stage of that process should be grief. You should sit down and grieve. Feel the pain. Do not hide it. Do not try to avoid it. Don't distract yourself from this pain. Let the pain sink in. Receive the pain. Grieve about it. You are hurt. It's acceptable. You were disappointed. You were betrayed. It's acceptable. You feel disappointed. You feel the pain. Feel the pain. Sit in the pain. Let the pain go over your body and feel the pain. Cry if you have to cry. Shout if you have to shout. But don't be destructive. But feel the pain. Don't pretend to be too strong. Feel the pain. Feel the pain. That is the first stage of an alchemist. You grieve. Grieving is the first stage. Feel the wound, feel the loss, feel the ruin, feel the destruction, feel the pain, feel the disappointment. The second one is honest analysis. After you have felt the pain to a level, now it is time to analyze. Honestly analyze. This is where you need self-reflection. You might isolate yourself a little bit to start thinking. Start thinking, what led to this? How did this happen? And when I say evaluation, it is honest evaluation. Do not cast the whole blame on the other people, on the other party. Assess the part you played in it that led to that. Accept the part. If you look at Isaiah 48:18, it says, if you had listened to my command, your peace would have flown like a river. If you had listened to my command, your peace would have flown like a river, and your righteousness like the waves of the sea. Righteousness would have covered you as the waves of the sea. If you had listened to my command. So analyze it truthfully, honestly, and accept the blame, the part that you took, the faulty part. By either you disobeyed God, you disobeyed your leader, or whichever way, accept the path that you were wrong. Honest evaluation. And that is, as you are analyzing that, the perspective of God will just keep pouring in, and then the Lord will be reminding you, did I not tell you this? Did I not give you this sign? Did I not show you in the dream? Did your body not telling you? Were you not feeling uncomfortable when this thing was about to happen? The Lord will start reminding you that the warning signs, the red flags that you have been saying, that you ignored, and the part that you played, maybe out of fear of rejection or fear of abandonment, you make those decisions. Take responsibility of the part that you played. Do not sugarcoat it and do not avoid it. And after that, the next stage is what? Healing. Now that you have known the truth, the role you played, the role the other person played, now you have known the truth. The next thing is to adopt the truth. Accept the truth and start making the truth work for you. Not with vengeance, but with you trying, with the mentality of trying to prevent it from happening again. Adopt the truth. If it is fear that caused it, then start working. What caused the fear? Have you had an history like that in the past? Are you being traumatized in the past that has led to this situation? Then the healing begins. Okay, I need to start thinking. I need to start changing. This thing doesn't work again. This thing cannot work again. I can't continue living like this. Then healing will start. Then don't rush the process, please. And the process can be different for anybody. If you have to see a therapist, see a therapist. If you have to see a godly counselor, please see a godly counselor. Someone that can walk with you in this journey. Someone that can be by your side in this particular situation. If you look at John 15, 1-2. John 15, 1-2. It says here, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't bear fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. So the healing part, this part is where you start noticing and realizing some bad attributes about yourself that caused or probably led to this, and then you start pruning it. This is the pruning stage. This is God working here. It will start reminding you, you should not have done this. You should not have done this. This is the fear. This is the this. This is the disobedience. Then you start adopting those truths. As you have adopted, when you adopt this truth, by pruning what needs to go, even bad toxic relationships and the environment that has been influencing you in a negative way, then you start realizing that, oh, I wasn't like this before until this person came to my life. I wasn't like this before. The Lord will start opening your eyes. That is why you should not rush this process. It might be during a period of isolation or through godly counsel, and the person will just be working with you and bringing you into remembrance. At this stage, healing is important. And then, after healing, and you have known the truth, and you're like, oh, this part of the situation is my fault. I need to avoid this kind of person. I need to change this kind of environment. I need to limit my this. I need to do this. I need to do that. Then as you adopt these new lessons to prevent the situation from happening again, what happens? You will start having self-control, healthy boundaries. You will start making better decisions. So after healing, the next thing is to grow. Growth is shown by making better decisions next time. Isaiah 48:18 that says, if you had listened to my commands, if you had paid attention to my instructions, God was saying that you would have had peace as flowing like a river. So this time you've learned your lesson, and now you want to pay attention to God's command. You want to pay attention to the intuition and the messages you've been receiving, the warnings you've been receiving. So this time you will pay attention to the warnings and make better decisions. So as you make better decisions next time, maybe the person that you smoke with before, you start avoiding that contact, you start avoiding the hanging out with such a person, and they see that, wow, this person doesn't smoke anymore. That is growth right there. You are making better decisions now. It is intentional growth. Growing. After growing, and part of the growing too is that you have now learned a lesson, and before you know it, you will start teaching other people to prevent the pain that you went through. You will start developing the passion to teach others. If you look at 2 Corinthians 1:3-4, 1 sec. 2 Corinthians 1, 3-4. It says, all praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. Verse 4. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others when they are troubled. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. NLT version. So what we have experienced, the same comfort God has given us when we're in trouble, now we will now be comforting others. So the lessons you have learned from your own mistake, it is now time for you to turn into power that you will now start teaching others. So not only are you growing by making better decisions, you are now using that same lesson as power to teach others. You can turn that pain now to purpose. You can turn the pain now to a mission. And what the enemy has now made for evil is now the lesson that you are now using to build others up and making purpose from it. Can you see the refining of God using what? The furnace of suffering. So after growing, the next thing people will be saying is that you are glowing. From growing to glowing. Why are you glowing? You are glowing now because you have made peace with the situation, and now you have inner peace. You are now enjoying the passion to now teach others has developed in you, and now the passion is just making you happier. Then you will start going, because when you are happy from the inside, it shows outside. You start glowing, you will start living a peaceful and joyful life. And then you will be purpose driven. You now feel like your life has a meaning. Can you see? You feel like you've been empowered by God. It will now build your self-esteem. You will now even feel better as a person. Even when you were grieving and being in pain, then it has now turned to what? A mission for you, and there is inner joy. Can you see? So from growth to glowing. And after glowing, what is the next thing? You will be glorified and people will start celebrating you. If you look at 2 Corinthians 4:17. 2 Corinthians 4:17. It says, for our present troubles are small and won't last very long, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. The present trouble you are facing will not last forever, but it will produce a greater glory that outweighs the suffering you are going through, that will now last forever. A glory you can pass to your unborn children, to the next generation, by imparting them with wisdom. And that wisdom will now build them up, and they too will pass the wisdom across. By who? Through your furnace of suffering. Through your suffering, it has now built and yielded great glory, not only in you, but also in others. Can you see how it is now? The suffering that you have experienced has now produced a great glory. That is why no matter what you are going through now, God is using that same thing to refine you. That is why you should develop the skill of alchemizing, transformation, transforming pain to power, transforming disappointment to opportunity, seeing the opportunity in the storm as an eagle, and using the storm to soar to the higher level of glory, of power, of spiritual authority and grace in God. Can you see what the enemy has now was thinking to destroy you with? God has turned it around for your good. And when people see you, they will see someone that is very resilient, someone that doesn't give up in trouble. When they see you, they will see someone that is courageous, someone that is able to face his or her fear. They will see someone that sees challenges as an opportunity to grow. And they will also see someone that is humble, that is, you accepted your fault in the situation and you are ready to make the change. Can you see now? So people will just be saying that, wow, this person is really like working. This person has really transformed. It's no more the person that we used to know. But it wasn't the plan of the enemy before. Don't forget, the Bible says, if the devil has known, he would not have crucified the Son of God. The same crucifixion was what led to the glory of Jesus. If the enemy has known, he or she would not have attacked you. Thank you. Bye for now.